Greetings, Paul Kephart here from Rana Creek. I'm pleased to provide an overview of large-scale applications of living architecture to share with you today some of the projects Rana Creek has designed and built, and thinking about this in regard to the integration of art, science, and architecture, and how we envision these projects from a holistic standpoint, not just the vegetation, not just the roof, but an integrated approach to water, stormwater, wastewater, carbon energy, and thinking about it regionally in terms of the site and structure. I got my start early on in Big Sur, California, where I worked with Mickey Munich on the Post Ranch Inn, focusing that work on recreating habitat for the coastal terrace prairie. Later on, I worked with Bill McDonough on what I call a courageous project that looked at topography and site integration, the slope aspect and orientation of the building that would support key species, using that structure to inform and define the way in which we plant the roof with an approach of restoration ecology. We also looked at this from a stormwater management standpoint, developing bioswales 3 feet above the ground plane. This work is thematic, and I'd like to discuss certain projects from a thematic standpoint. And I want to honor and respect the work of Mickey Munich in Big Sur, that is an organic architect, well known for his site integration, looking at those Macargian elements of design, of slope and aspect, orientation, wind speed, and solar gain, and how we create structure that matches the current topography and the existing hydrology of the site. Another important factor is energy efficiency, and this project for the Feldmans in Big Sur, California, looked at the thermal insulation of the building envelope. The living roof has decreased the ambient air temperature by 60 degrees, and the client here decided not to use air conditioning in a fairly hot, arid climate. It gets to be 100 degrees on a regular basis there. We also developed a gray water system that is naturally ventilating the building. Cool air floats over the gray water and is exhausted through the plenum of the building and out through a chimney. In regard to healing space, this project with Pete Walker exemplifies what can occur in an urban environment where we encourage biodiversity for certain pollinating species, and we created a beautiful park-like setting on a parking structure where the visitor patients look out over the property. Another project in Big Sur that's important to biodiversity is the work, again, of Mickey Munich for the Esalen Bathhouse, and in this project, we actually used the rooftop as the set-aside or the reconciliatory mitigation for the protection and habitat creation, that offset habitat creation for the Smith's blue butterfly. We planted the Eriogonum parvifolium, which is the larval food host for that butterfly, and successfully entitled this project through CEQA, using the structure as recreated habitat. Now these projects have gotten larger in scale, and I was pleased to work with the L&M group and PWL partners in Vancouver. I considered water as one of the most important elements of this project. It's grand in scale, and it is about 5.9 acres in size. The project team envisioned a key line topography where each one of these segments or angles or natural drainage channels for just enough water in which to convey that storm water across the roof surface's folding planes. we looked at a diverse suite of native vegetation, including those that were on the red list and at their range extensions. And it's been a wonderful project. I just visited the project with my friend Bruce Himstock and looked it over, and the vegetation is robust, it's healthy, it is established. I understand there's bee boxes there, and the convention center is harvesting its own honey. But overall, I looked at its integrated systems and began to get an understanding of the black water treatment in the basement of this structure. The capacity of this building is up to 24,000 people, and the day I was there were 11,000 people watering this roof, their wastewater being processed through biodigesters, and that water being conveyed to the rooftop and irrigating the roof on a subsurface basis. So I also learned from the facilities manager that they estimated that the roof energy savings, that is the thermal performance in the conditioned space of the convention center and the exhibition hall, it was from a conservation standpoint of energy, the energy savings have offset the cost, or actually paid for the cost, of the black water treatment as well as the rooftop. And this is a great example of how we can extend green space from a highly constricted vertical city of concrete, glass, and steel, and extend that park-like setting of Stanley Park out into Cole Harbor. It's a great project with a good team of people. In my experience, it's these great teams of people that work together to produce magnificent projects like this. Now, these projects are not easily implemented without some significant testing. And we had built a mock-up program on site or nearby that looked at plant performance and built-up system components and irrigation tolerances and schedules. So all of those kinds of testing criteria were included in the design phase of the project. Another smaller project here locally that's for low-income housing. I like this project in that the LID component, the low impact development component, of preserving that stormwater on site and managing stormwater with the vegetation through a series of green roofs and terraces, offset the cost of increasing the diameter and the sizing of the stormwater infrastructure for the project. And it also has a solar energy array component with the vegetation. And when corporate America begins to brand their projects with green roofs and green infrastructure, such as West Elm and Emeryville, that's when I see great success and momentum for the industry. And in this small project, it's at the junction of the maze coming off the bridge from San Francisco, and approximately 260,000 people drive by this project and see it every day. So it's a way in which we can promote green roofs and promote green building in a highly public venue. Moreover, West Elm enjoys the sound attenuation values of this rooftop. This is a energized area with a lot of vibration and sound off the highway, and when you're inside, this sloping roof is sloped towards that highway. It's nice and quiet. It's a good shopping environment. And this project also incorporated those stormwater handling and management programs in which the roof is the primary infiltration for the stormwater into a flow-through planter and a bioswale. We planted it with a diverse assemblage of native species for pollinators. Someone asked, what good are these small little green projects in a sea of urban sprawl? And they're as good as what they're connected to. There's adjacent open space in which those species can migrate to and connect to other open space regionally. This project is for public education, and it looked at incorporating the green measures, the LID, the green roofs, and the native plant communities as part of an educational component, incorporating flow-through planters and water reuse systems. And one of the projects that I find is most appealing from a biodiversity and structural standpoint, a host of indigenous plants that mimic or simulate the coastal scrub habitat. And when I went up on this roof, I was just overcome with a sense of well-being, and that many of the species are aromatic. And it smelled very good. There was an abundance of species of ladybugs and grasshoppers, and I don't think I've ever been on a rooftop in which it was so much life present. Moreover, the students are working to study the energy performance, and there are some monitoring systems. Kirsten Weeks set this up for monitoring the thermal performance of the rooftop relative to energy, and this graph illustrates the difference in the temperature of vegetated versus non-vegetated elements of the campus. Now, one of my favorite projects that we have done over the last 3 years has been the Council District 9 with Paul Murdoch Architects. Primarily because this project was located in such a difficult, deprived area of Los Angeles, that is Central Avenue, where the east versus west, the gang wars are prevalent. Historically, it was a chop shop, a recycled tire location, very tough neighborhood, and the city decided to improve this by the development of this project. And all the LID, low impact development techniques were used, the green roof, cisterns for holding stormwater, water conveyance from bioswales within the parking area with canopy trees to cool the site. In addition, the design, this is with Pamela Burton, the design looked at pulling the public space, the programmed areas away from the parapets, and Rana Creek's work resulted in this beautiful park-like setting that's safe. It's a place for people to gather, a place for children to play. Moreover, we have developed a plant material assemblage of local and regional rare plants, some of which are extinct or threatened in the wild, like Shaw's agave, and just a very rewarding project in which provides refuge to those residents in this area of Compton. Another spiritual connection is that of the Eastman's Collection Center for the Museum of Northern Arizona, in which case we collected and harvested seeds and plants on site in a desert environment, and thinking of the spiritual connection the Hopi and Navajo have to seasonal water regimes and rainfall. We looked at designing an integrated stormwater terraced planter that would connect the flow of water from the supply spring to the roof to the planter, purify and clarify that water, and then store it for seasonal use during the dry season. The plant materials are a diverse assemblage of cacti and flowering herbaceous shrubs. Like many desert environments, these are spaced further apart. They require greater resources, and now the project is filling in. This also incorporated the detailing around light wells that would provide light into the structure from natural daylight. Just as an overview of the projects Rana Creek has implemented, and we've been honored and pleased to work with great people, great teams and jurisdictions throughout the Bay Area. Over 19 projects in the last 4 years that focus on stormwater, biodiversity, site improvements, and considering this in a regional approach, I'm beginning to model and record and measure the results of these projects in a database that seeks to understand just how we're doing on a regional basis with these stormwater management issues. The projects that Rana Creek has done over the last 10 years equal almost 25 acres. And we continue to work on this and are passionate about this work in the Bay Area in our own neighborhood, and we'd like to share this information with others in the industry. I just want to talk briefly about California Academy of Sciences, only that it was a rigorous testing and mock-up program from the beginning, and I can't emphasize enough to those in the industry when we're doing these large-scale applications of living architecture that it's important to study and mock up and ask the pertinent questions relative to performance. And we learned so much along the way. When I point to the projects that we've done historically that were new, and people have asked us to do those things that haven't been done before, the GAP and the Vancouver Convention Centre and the California Academy, it was the value of these mock-ups that really paid off in the long run to understand the physical challenges, the built environment, all the components of building this up, and that's how it results in good projects, and you figure out a lot about how this will perform, not only from a vegetation standpoint, but from an integrated standpoint. The timing of the flowering, the aesthetic, you can monitor for utilization of certain insects, and you can monitor the constructability of the project in terms of cost and in terms of mobilization, and especially for large-scale projects, this is really key. The California Academy, I worked with the SWA group and the Academy of Sciences, and it was a wonderful project for all of us. It was complex in the way in which we contained and held soil. It was the time in which the BioTray, the team of Rana Creek and Greenroofs Solutions and Brent Buckton and others put together the BioTray for the project. It is essentially a modular soil-based product that is a delivery mechanism for both soil and plants. It provides greater efficiency. It provides for a recycled, biodegradable method of planting the rooftops, and this has been used on over 15 projects since its inception. And the rooftop really has performed. It has greater species diversity than any other area in the park, and it's a place where hundreds and hundreds of school children visit each year. It's a place where people can explain, and the Academy can explain and explore the natural world. So in closing, I just want to talk about these concepts, these big ideas behind the design, and our work here in the arid parts of the world, in the deserts and those areas of seasonal rainfall. We're now promoting the idea of not using potable water for non-potable and for irrigation and for non-potable uses, and that we're incorporating waste streams of cooling tower blowdown and gray water and storm water as a recycled component to irrigate the rooftop. In these climates, the rooftops are not that sustainable when we have to continually irrigate them and having that nitrified or that nutrient load entering our storm sewers. So looking at the water issue, groundwater, I think we're getting there from limiting groundwater into the stormwater drains and discharge. We're treating that waste stream as part of the structure to help building performance. And we're encouraging biodiversity, and then also we're starting to see these projects pay for themselves. So that's just an overview of what's happening here on the West Coast. We've got some projects on the drawing boards, and Transbay, the wonderful park, almost 6 acres with a gray water on top of the system on top of the roof. Diverse assemblage. Now this roof is loaded for 6 feet of growing media, very significant in scale. The Diacero headquarters with Grimshaw's on the drawing boards in Monterrey, Mexico, that include irrigating the rooftop with wastewater and gray water and stormwater commingled. The CPMC hospital, look for this project coming soon with cooling tower blowdown and stormwater commingled and used for irrigating the roof, so no potable water for the rooftops. And then also on the drawing boards, and very exciting, the large-scale 9-acre, it's being built now, Croton Water Treatment Plant, which is a driving range over top structure. And in the future, we'll see the San Diego Convention Center that we're challenged to use 400,000 gallons of groundwater, brackish groundwater, to irrigate the roof. So thank you. It's been my pleasure. Enjoy the non-conference or the unconference. I think there's a great idea on how we can share our work and share information. And thank you very much.